is. Crack open that bottle of wine. Grab your favorite glass, pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick, light it, and blow. It's time to hang with Steel Sharpens Steel After Dark.
This week's episode is brought to you by Cheetos Snowflakes White Cheddar. When your inability to emotionally handle the devastating loss that you're exhibiting in your infrequently winning voter fraud translation efforts, your snack of choice is Cheetos Snowflakes White Cheddar. Accent on the white. Also brought to you by Chateau de Larme Blanche, a crisp white wine full of white tears that you might choose to drink as you're enjoying a special afternoon of Schadenfreude. When you want to sip the salty bitterness of white tears, it's Chateau de Larme Blanche. And welcome, everyone, to Steel Sharpens Steel. We are happy to see all of you here. It is the cool out, the after dark. We are here to help y'all unwind and enjoy yourselves. What is everybody sipping on this evening? I have, of course, Chateau de Larme Blanche. So satisfying.
You know I am partial to my red wine, but I have liberally laced it with the tears of the sad and fake disenfranchised.
You know, that's excellent. It heightens the tannins.
Right. It's an antioxidant.
And what about you, Sharon?
I'm celebrating the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors.
That was a better answer.
And Chuck, if you tell me you're doing something healthy and hydrating, I'm going to reach through this screen and poke you through your glasses. What are you drinking this evening?
It's not so healthy, but it's hydrating. It's good old Coca-Cola. And from a historical standpoint, we were always taught that there was a black man that actually came up with the formula, and that Pemberton guy took it, sold it, and made it into a multi-bazillion-dollar company. So in deference to whoever the brother was that came up with Coca-Cola on the plantation, this Coke's for you.
All right.
Jack and Coke, both.
See, yeah, we got that. Mark Stepney is drinking Captain's Blush from the Grafton Winery and Brew House. And Ursula says she was not ready for that intro. Thank you, Ursula. We got to make sure if you stay ready, ain't got to get ready. We have a lot of things to talk about. I'd like to start the show by offering our thoughts and prayers for Donald Jr., who has come down with the Rona, demonstrating that cocaine is obviously not a palliative for corona intrusion. So them lines ain't gonna keep you safe if you were counting on that. Rona still will get you.
Well, maybe he was trying to cut the cocaine with hydrochloroquine and get it, into the body, like the bleach within the blood through the nose, because the lungs is where it does a hell of a job. So, he was trying to get that there.
Well, it is a hell of a drug, so he might have been hoping that it would do a hell of a job. It remains to be seen. Meanwhile, Ben Carson is saying that oleander extract, as promoted by the Mr. My Pillow guy, helped him kick the Rona in his first little statement that he has made publicly since coming down with the virus just about a week ago. Still haven't seen him on camera, though.
No.
So we don't know who's tweeting on behalf of Ben Carson.
Herman Cain was tweeting for quite some time.
He sure was, even after he passed. So yeah, so it's going to be tricky to see what's going on. There's been a lot going on, not the least of which has been the continued shutting down of all attempts at legal incursions into the Trump fake news, fake voter fraud, fake rigging election. And we saw this week that the lead lawyer, who allegedly is charging as much as $20,000 a day
to
fail.
And who is paying for this?
I'm not going to say the people that Trump is defrauding through his election protection request fund, 60% of the funds of which are directed to paying campaign fees and obligations, and the other 40% are dedicated to RNC. And only after you have maxed out your legal contributions to the campaign and the RNC would any of your money actually go to funding these electoral fights. Now, it is possible, since the campaign is paying for the $3 million in Wisconsin, that some of those monies are actually going to where they were originally intended. But who can say? What it's certainly not going to is Giuliani's hair color.
Ay, Dios.
Because as we can see, he was working as a stunt double for Gary Oldman in The Fifth Element, and also as Jack Nicholson's understudy in the original Tim Burton Batman. We don't know what Rudy is doing, but he and his clown car of lawyers are not doing any legaling. Chuck, as our resident expert, how do you feel about the spurious accusations and quote unquote evidence that Rudy has foisted unsuccessfully onto various judges at all levels of government this week?
You know, it's troubling from the standpoint that you always hear about taking court cases seriously, the charge that no case is supposed to be brought that a lawyer does not believe that they reasonably have an opportunity to win. And when I look back over the past week and realize that there have been a number of lawyers that were already on the Trump legal team that have withdrawn, that sent a signal that they understand that they don't want to be caught up in any type of situation where they are on the hook. And what I mean by that is, in most states, in most jurisdictions, there are provisions that allow for the winning party in a matter to actually sue for attorney's fees from the losing party. And get this, in most of these jurisdictions, the losing party actually could also mean that the lawyers who lead the cases for the losing party could be personally liable for whatever attorney's fees or costs associated with the prevailing party. And so with that understanding, it was not surprising to me that there were lawyers who were like rats jumping off of a sinking ship saying, I'm not going to co-sign on this, when I realized that these are potentially, or not even potentially, let's just call it what it is, frivolous lawsuits. And I also want to caution that this isn't just partisan drivel coming from me. When you stop and you realize that even your friend Tucker, son of Carl, as Tom calls him, even Tucker Carlson, who is as right-wing as they come, who is as much of a Donald Trump supporter as you can find on conservative media, when he is saying that it's over, it's over. And I'm not quite sure why Rudy Giuliani hasn't gotten the message. And I'm not quite sure what the angle from the president is, when it's pretty clear that not only have the much maligned mainstream media that he likes to call the fake news, New York Times, Washington Post, and of course, Associated Press, they have called the race continuously over the last 2 weeks for Joe Biden, but Fox News has too. And so at a certain point in time, you just have to stop and ask, what are we doing? I posted the other day that the president is 1 for 26, I think, at my last count. I'm not sure whether that's gone
1 for 30.
Even worse. Yeah. But if you stop and think about it, any of us who play baseball, or if you follow baseball, 1 for 26 is going to get you the hook. The coach, the manager is going to say, hey, you come on, sit right here on this pine next to me, because you can't hit the ball. So again, why Rudy is doing this, it reminds me of the line from one of my favorite Frank Sinatra songs, Send in the Clowns. Why is he choosing to lose his timing this late in his career? I'm not sure, but it's lost. And I don't know what else to say.
Chucky, how can you question why Rudy is doing this?
$20,000 a day, I guess.
It's called $20,000 a day.
You know what? Give me $20,000. I'll stand up in front of the mic with some drippy Jerry curl juice. Yeah.
Rudy done been the man in New York. He know what it's going to cost for him to go find an island.
Right.
His money, he is living high on the hog. That's the last question I have for the buffoon to be up there cutting the food. It's called 20 G's
$1,000
a day. See,
Yeah.
nobody asked why you charging him so much. He charged that much. He said, for me to look like a jackass, this is what you're going to have to pay me.
Right. My soul is worth this much per day.
And how many days you want me to do this for 30 days? Okay, that's
worth this much
per month.
Right.
This is totally calculated.
Now, you know, while we're talking about Rudy, I want to once again just highlight how much Black women can save you when you find yourself in a bad situation. So the product that I have here is Maker Argan Oil Black. It is,
girl, I need some of that right now.
a black gel. So when you want to try to hide your gray and not pretend that you're 107, you only want to be 77. When you want to try to hide your age, just put a little in there and you can sweat through it and it will not drip into your collar. It will maintain your sense of, you know, your false sense of dignity because you already sold that. The least you can do is hold on to your edges. And so that's all I'm saying.
Sis, come on now. Satan is alive. Okay. When Satan put his disciples to work, okay, they must suffer the wrath of being at the work of Satan. This man had them in a parking garage overlooking adult films,
alley
on with a garage as a backdrop. What a little hair dye do for him for 20 G's a day?
True.
He is, I mean, every myth that we've ever seen about the devil and the dungeon and the, you know, the underneath the earth, he is a walking, talking example of the Joker.
The Crypt Keeper. Here's my thing. $20,000 a day. Yes.
When you need to stalk a graveyard at night and don't want your edges to show, it's Perfect Edges.
You two fools. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
I forgot what I was about to say.
It's just that it's really I would say that the two women that he has with him are worse because they are younger and they have perhaps legitimate legal careers to preserve. Rudy had to leave his law firm after all that chicanery and all that stuff. But these two women, Sidney Powell and whoever, they still have like jobs. And you were on national television. I know y'all saw because Sharon posted it. They actually presented as evidence in their Michigan case voter counts from Minnesota districts instead of Michigan districts.
I mean,
and tried to say that there was 300%.
Make this shitty up.
And the worst part, the over counts, what they were perceiving is 350%. Those were in districts where Trump won by 75% to 25%. So if anything, that's their own guy who's cheating.
It's straight, and he had the nerve to evoke my cousin Vinny. I mean, this thing is like. I mean, it's not even an embarrassment. It is, look who y'all tried to make president of the United States. Look who y'all
did this.
Allowed to be in his front. I mean, bona fide lawyers that have a shred of dignity walked away from the case. After they lost like number 14, Chuck, they were like, find somebody else because I have to survive after you.
And Sharon, what's interesting is just like, you know, the name that Tom threw out there jarred my memory. Sidney Powell. She's the one that Tucker Carlson has been roasting this week on Fox.
Show us your evidence. The time has come. Where's it at?
Yeah, you can get all the time on my show that you want. Says she could come on every night so that we can go over this important evidence. And again, Tucker Carlson is not some mainstream media person, as Sarah Palin and many conservatives like to say. That's their guy. That's their main man behind the trigger. And he's like, I don't understand what the Trump administration is doing either when it comes to contesting this. So I think what's problematic to me is, you know, when you're reading a lot of the comments from, there are people who are really legitimately believing that just because you want to say that the election was rigged, that and I'm just sitting here shaking my head. And yeah, Moni J just brought up Rule 11. My cousin Amy also brought up Rule 11, and that's what I was talking about earlier in regards to, yeah, you stay on these cases if you want to, you'll wind up paying, you know, the freight yourself. And so again, I'm not sure why, you know, Sidney Powell, I'm not sure what the end game is for her to continue to push so hard and doing so poorly up there in Michigan.
Well, you know that Tucker turned, the first time Tucker turned was after he said that these dead people voted, and then got fact checked immediately. And the woman, Blaylock, Mrs. James Blaylock, came on and said, yeah, she votes under her husband's name because she's old school like that.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have her own first name. She's Mrs. James Blaylock, and that's how she votes. So she's alive. And then he had 4 people he talked about. 2 of them are alive, and 2 of them hadn't voted. So he's like, you had me on television looking like a straight fool. And now you're coming with this other foolishness, and you can bet, you know, maybe Hannity, maybe Laura Ingraham is just a shill, but Tucker prides himself on actually being an intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
He actually, him and that Scooter dude, or Grover Norquist, they actually consider themselves to be a part of the Republican intelligentsia. So they definitely don't like getting thrown down in the slop and being shown up. So I agree. I don't know what these people, when Georgia certified, Michigan is about to certify. He's got these 2 people, these 2 Michigan people, the head of the Senate and the head of the House in Michigan, visiting the White House today. And everybody thinks that his plan is to have the state legislatures craft a Trump-friendly board of electors to send. But of course, those people don't have any legal sanctions, so they just be going up against the actual electors who are going to vote for Biden. So it's getting down to the last minutes, and there doesn't appear to be any pathway for him. Sharon, go ahead.
The best thing I heard even this evening was, now you call in state legislators to the White House to talk about overturning your election as if most of these mofos ain't on the same ballot.
Right.
So you invalidate your state's election with you and your peers, your neighbors, the people that you serve with on the same ballot. You ain't trying to make it to tomorrow.
Sure ain't.
You just ain't trying. I mean, so Georgia, I mean, to thunk in 2020 that the state of the peaches would be the state that slaps the red into the orange man to make him realize, to make the country realize what integrity means is the next level of hilarity. An all red cabinet, majority red legislature, poll workers who were Republicans that didn't vote for Trump. Just the mere fact that, and the fact that 73 million other mofos, and I won't say all of them are marching, let's say 1 million, are carrying the water as if there's any shred of truth. Now the dumb media, all the media is dumb for this one. 70% of Republicans think this is the ballot. Sharon hears, oh, there's 30% more that we can pull over to our side. That's what I hear. They're going to always be crazy. But the fact that his 94% is down to 70% that actually believes that is voted for, they say 70% of America, they say 70% of Republicans. Give me them 30% and pull them on over to our side. We ain't got to worry about none of this foolishness no more. So when I hate the way that, well, they're not supposed to be strategists, but they're feeding into his narrative, like, oh my God, 70% of Republicans think Joe Biden is an invalid president. Really? Who on this planet thinks that Joe Biden is an invalid? The man got 79 million votes. Trump, I got 73. Well, yeah, you got 73, and now we're up to 6 million more. So when I even think of all of this noise, I'm more in the standpoint of what do we have to do to wake up. We can't even wake up the dead because they checking the death certificates. The almost dead. How can we wake up the almost dead in Georgia and get them to the polls?
Yeah. Here's an interesting thought experiment. Does anybody know what state has the same number of electoral votes as Michigan? Georgia. So even if he were to lose Michigan, I mean, he's at 306 now. Yeah. But even if he were to lose Michigan, he would still have enough electoral votes because Georgia has been certified now.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no room for nothing. Nothing is going to happen in Pennsylvania. Nothing is going to happen in this 2-county recount in Wisconsin. It's not going to happen. And even though Biden's margin did drop in Georgia because they found some 2,500 ballots, and that person has been fired. That precinct that person has been fired because it was his second time doing that.
At this point, after Michigan, after Georgia, they about to pull the same trumpery in Pennsylvania. Can you imagine if they attempted? We will experience Civil War II. I mean, the people, the clapback in Michigan alone. I'm like, you tried Negroes from Detroit like that? I mean, the white people from Detroit was losing their minds. They didn't even get to the brothers yet.
Nope.
So when I even think about what could happen, I'm glad it's laughable. I'm glad it's total trumpery. I'm glad the level of outrage is astounding, and every effort they don't even talk about Antifa anymore. They not now it's all about the QAnon people. But to think that he just won't stop is really a moment in history that I hope is preserved properly.
Well, I have to say, as a person who has lived in Wayne County 3 different times during my life, first time in Detroit proper on the corner of Chesterfield and Pembroke, and then in Farmington Hills, and then in West Bloomfield, I just want to remind Trump and all of his lawyers, it's so cold in the D. Because I know everybody's not going to appreciate it, but everyone from Detroit is going to appreciate it because it stays on a brother's mind. It's not something you want to mess with. Detroit folks do not play, just like them Philly folks do not play. That's why you in the wrong playground, homie.
And Tom, my baby daddy, Alvin's
right. He's from Detroit. That's right.
But my line sister, let me brag a little bit. My line sister, no, sweetheart.
Oh, okay.
It's Wayne County Commissioner Alicia Bell.
Oh, okay. See,
chair of the Wayne County Commission. So as I'm texting her, and I'm like, last sister, I mean, she put up like something that just went at the people. All of a sudden it was gone. I said, did you go to Facebook jail? Do I need to call Chuck Hobbs to represent you? I was like, she had laid it out. This was before they rescinded. And she was like, boo, I'm from the D. I was like, boo. She just checked me quickly. She's like, boo, I'm from the D.
Yeah, y'all don't even try it.
We ain't playing checkers. I said, yes, ma'am.
They're going to be throwing annihilators at you in them streets. Out of every wig shop, they could be annihilators and getting you some Fago Red Pop all over your windshield. So let's take a look at some of the other things that we are talking about tonight. There's just been so much happening. We've had so many different things, but of course the election has obviously been the biggest thing on people's minds. But Trump is out here doing lots of stunts in his final 2 months. Did y'all see how he appointed 2 well-known white supremacists to positions in the administration, one of which is technically a 3-year term, which would not be able to be immediately revoked, although he could be asked to step down. He is showing all of his colors, not just orange, every single color in his palette. What are your greatest fears, Joy, as he vainly attempts to hold on to power in these last couple of months for things that he might do to injure the country and make it even more difficult for Biden to pull things together as we enter into his inauguration in 2021?
My greatest fear is not Trump himself. It's the people around him giving him these ideas, because this man doesn't have enough brain cells to rub together to make a fire. I'm telling you, someone is in his ear, someone who has ties to white supremacist organizations that are telling him, do this, this guy. They've been planning this. Remember the FBI report from 2006 that said that white supremacist organizations had infiltrated the law enforcement across the country. Law enforcement, rookies go on to be sergeants, go on to be commissioners, go on to be presidents of the union, go on to run for public office, mayor, governor, whatever. And so they've worked their way up over the last 30 years into positions of power. And my fear is that he's going to do so many little things while we're worrying about the election or worrying about the pandemic that they're not going to be able to find them all. It's like Legos in the carpet. You're going to be stepping on the things that he has done for the next 2 or 3 years. And the damage that can be done in the meantime can be irreparable. It could change without him being there. The course of America can be changed by the people he's put in place that we just haven't even paid attention to.
He did also appoint, Mitch McConnell, I guess you could say, appointed another 34-year-old who's only been practicing law since 2012, who has never, not even once, tried a case in a court of law, to a lifetime position on the federal bench in Florida. So, Chuck, I see you nodding almost in disbelief. What are your opinions about this latest fool? And, Mitchell is obviously not letting it go. Mitch is going to Mitch. Up until the last moment that he has the power to do so.
Yeah, they're definitely appointing ideologues, and a lot of people, and that's not new. It's been going on for the last 4 years. Now, we talk a lot about the Supreme Court selections that have been made under the Trump administration, but lest we forget that well over 200 some odd federal district and appellate level judges have been confirmed under his watch as well. Now, most of those judges are qualified, but there have been instances like the one we saw this week where you have folks who are barely in their 30s, in their early 40s. And it's not about the age necessarily, but it's about that lack of experience. And the reason that they are being appointed is because they have a fealty to the Federalist Society, which is a very conservative organization of lawyers who, are constantly vetted by conservative and other right-wing groups in regards to whether or not they would be the type of judges that, as I talk about all the time, that would overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, there are other things that fall along the spectrum too, but let's not fool ourselves for one bit. For the last 30 or 40 years, organizations like the Federalist Society have risen because there has been a systematic approach to try to eliminate abortion on demand in this country. So with that in mind, I find it problematic, but she is now confirmed. I have seen that happen on the state court level here in Florida, where judges have been appointed that had very little experience. I'm talking about 2 trials, maybe 3. And it defies credulity to think that there are lawyers who will have to practice and try cases in front of a judge that's never tried a case. And it's it's not something that you can just go and read a book or go to a seminar and figure out. It's the best judges during the course of the 20 years that I was active are the ones that have been in the trenches, that have tried cases, that understand how to call the balls and strikes, to keep it with the baseball analogy. And the ones who generally have been the worst have been those appointed, just like we just saw this week, that don't know whether to, wind their behind or scratch their watch, so to speak. And yet here they are wearing the black robe and have a gavel, and you're just sitting there. And I mean, literally, I have been in front of some judges like that, where you realize that when you're asking them a question about an objection or you're trying to make an argument, you can see, like, you remember on Beavis and Butthead, sometimes the cloud would go up over Beavis's head and there would be nothing spinning, like nothing at all. You can see that and you're like, wow, I can't believe that we're here.
Well, speaking about other aspects of courtroom drama, today, murderer Kyle Rittenhouse posted $2 million in bond to be released from custody. Now, this is a 17-year-old whose mother drove him across state lines with a gun that was given to him by a person of majority age, a 19-year-old young man who was facing separate charges. But it just goes to show, in the GoFundMe era, any person who can get the right sort of coverage can get the support of an entire wing of the American populace for foolishness. This is a kid who went and murdered some people. And instead of just sitting and rotting in jail like Dylan Roof did, we've got him out back in the streets. Who knows where his mother, one of those survivor prepper sort of people, is going to hide him in a little hidey hole or whatever, or get him to some foreign place where he can continue to be an avatar for right-wing foolery. It's just literally astounding. But go ahead, Chuck.
No, Tom, yeah, seriously, that's a great point. And, you know, I fault the judge for that. I mean, on one hand, we can get upset about the fact that there were people, American citizens, who filled the GoFundMe coffers up to the point where he could post a $2 million bond. But the problem is with the judge. Right off of what you just said, 5 years ago, I handled a case over in a little town, Live Oak, Florida. Joy, you don't know where that is, but Tom and Sharon definitely do. It's out in the sticks, about maybe an hour or so to the east of Tallahassee, and it is predominantly white. It's the only case that I ever tried where I actually had to have a sheriff's coterie get me to the border after we got a not guilty verdict, because I had a young black woman who was charged with killing her white best friend. I did the stand your ground and all of that, lost it at the motion trial, but we went to trial. I was able to get a not guilty with an all-white jury, 12 white jurors. It looked like something from the 1950s. One side of the courtroom was all black. The other side of the courtroom was all white. And there were reports on Facebook and social media where they were saying they were going to kill the N-word lawyer and they were going to get that uppity in and this and that. In fact, I carried my weapons with me that entire week for trial. And the sheriff came to me straight up after the not guilty and said, Mr. Hodges, we will feel more comfortable if you allow us to give you an escort to the county line. If I live to be 90 years old, I will never forget that. But watch this. My client, who killed her white friend in her house because the white friend was beating her down and what have you, she was held with no bond the entire time. It took us 18 months to get to trial, and she was sitting in a county jail for 18 months, even though we did 2 bond hearings because the judge said, nope, no bond. So that's on that judge. That Rittenhouse is out and walking around. He should have been held with no bond, and we shouldn't even be having this discussion this evening.
So when we talk about systemic racism, and when you talk about the disparities in the legal system, the healthcare system, education, et cetera, this is a perfect example, because you have one judge, both judges have the same rule books, generally speaking. And so you have one judge is like, he's a good boy and he was just trying to do something American and blah, 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 whatever rhetoric he wants to tell himself, that sets, regardless of how big the number was, you gave him a number that could hypothetically be reached, and it was reached. But then you have another woman who is fighting for her life in her own house in a state that loves to scream, stand your ground, and she can't get out because they won't even give her the chance to raise money. GoFundMe doesn't help you when they won't give you anything to fund. And so that, again, that's that disparity we talk about. 18 months, a year and a half of her life lost because they didn't think she deserved the chance to be out on her own recognizance, because black people can't be trusted.
Let's be clear, Tom and Chuck and Joy. Wait till after New Year's, those final 19 days, on how many pardons happen and who they happen for. You talk about what you said, Joy, about we're not gonna see what happens. Oh, he likes to brag about what he does. Wait till you see who walks up out of jail by January 19th. And he's gonna do it loud and proud. And don't be surprised if that little boy ain't one of them. He ain't got no state charges. Watch.
Well, let's move on to something that is perhaps a little bit more enjoyable for us to contemplate. Joe Biden has been making a number of announcements about who are going to be his primary staff persons. Most of the people he has announced are people that will not need to be confirmed by the Senate. He has been staffing up chief of staff, a whole host of persons that he is going to be filling his administration with. And we have seen a broad range of diverse picks, completely different from white male after white male after white male after white male after white male, with the exception of Betsy DeVos, that ended up populating Trump's cabinet. And of course, Sleepy Ben also slipped in there as well. And Jaron Smith as a senior advisor until he quit last week. More on that later. Put a pin in it. So, Joy, why don't you tell us, what is your most exciting pick? Who are you looking at that Biden has chosen that you think is going to make an impact for the country as we head into a January 22nd scenario?
You know, I think I would like to share with the audience at this time that this wine glass was full when we started. And the names that I wanted to share with the audience have escaped me at the moment. So I'm just going to say, I want to talk in general about the differences. If you go to Google and say, you know, Biden's picks, Biden's staff, Biden's camp, etc., and diversity, and you will see people from every walk of life, every background, multiple different religions, multiple different, not only of the binary genders, but any gender identity. He's got a little bit of everything in his camp, and it's beautiful to see. And it also gives absolute lie to the idea that there's just enough, not I told you the wine was half empty, not enough talented people at this level. You know, you think about the Wells Fargo CEO about a month and a half ago saying, we want to promote Black people. There's just not enough out there with the talent. Meanwhile, you know, I'm looking at Spelman College and Morehouse College right here. Like, are you joking me with this right now, bro? You know, and so to see Biden immediately be able to say, here's all this diverse talent that can bring different voices, different perspectives, so we don't overlook stuff like, you know, having potential vaccines that are not tested on different parts of the demographic, et cetera. He can do all of that because of the diversity he has in his office. And to hold up Trump's interns versus the supposed interns from before with Obama and now here, it literally is black and white.
Well, before Chuck jumps on it, I'm going to throw a yo up to my frat brother, Cedric Richmond, who is set to join the administration as a senior official and a senior advisor. These are the sorts of things, and not to say that there's a certain type of person. One of our commenters made the point that Elaine Chao, who is married to Mitch McConnell, is also on the cabinet. But I have to say, if you're married to Mitch McConnell, it kind of sweeps away any other aspect of your identity. So you don't get credit as being Chinese when you're married to Mitch McConnell, because my God, I even, as I looked at Rudy Giuliani's picture that we put over here before, I thought momentarily that maybe he had been getting a scalp massage from Mitch McConnell, whose hands famously are turning black themselves. Oh my God. But I think what you're saying is, Joy, is definitely cogent. There are token representations of diversity from people who are aligned with a particular ideology. And then there's representation that crosses ideological bents. I know that Cedric is getting some pushback because he has close ties to the fossil fuel industry, and a lot of Green New Deals and progressives who are very passionate about global warming find him to be a little bit disturbing as a pick. But Biden understands that you can't just govern based on one single set of principles. There's a broad swath of people in this country, and there are lots of people whose jobs and livelihood are still tied to fossil fuels. And you're not going to do any favors to anybody in the country at all in the middle of a pandemic when everything is so tight by saying, well, we're just going to stop all of this in the middle of a pandemic when we might have to face draconian measures, not nationwide. Biden has said there will be no nationwide shutdown. But Michigan, Governor Whitmer is facing trouble again because of what she is asked to do. Gavin Newsom is facing trouble over the choices he's making about California. This is a divided country, and the people who vote against you still need the protections that the government affords them. They can't just be cast off to the side just because they lost by 6 million votes. 6 million votes. 6.
Lord Jesus.
You're a lahu zer. So I just, I wish that there were some way for the scales to drop from these people's eyes who think that there was some sort of conspiracy to defraud people. There's literally no evidence. My good brother says he's leaking lies and fraud.
Damn.
Thank you. When he was online, he was a great fan of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! And so that goes out to you, Abu Ibrahim Musa. So I think, let's see, we're about 40 minutes in. We still have a lot of ground to cover. Does anybody want to talk about who their selection is for Gangster of the Week? Okay, Joy is nodding her head, and Chuck, what do you go ahead, Chuck?
No, I was saying ladies first.
Oh, okay. So Joy, you have your person ready, and I do have graphics ready, but I don't know if you want me to show, if you want to announce who it is first.
Let me go first. Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so you know how when you're on a Zoom meeting and you just have choice words for somebody, but you know you want to keep your job or you're afraid of what may happen, so you just don't say what's really in your heart. You kind of swallow it up a little bit. My Gangster of the Week is Ned Stabler, who in the middle of a Zoom meeting called out his counterparts for being racist, being Trump supporters, being, small bits of fecal matter. Like he went ham. And I had never seen anybody do that, to their own peers. And he called them out by name, which is something I've always suspected that we all wanted to do. So that's my pick for Gangster of the Week. Take it away, Ned Stabler.
We also know that the Secretary of State and the Attorney General have already tweeted out that your legal arguments are rubbish and you're going to lose when it comes to court. So we're not worried about that at all. I'm also not worried about any of your, things are bad so we can't certify arguments, because that's just ridiculous. You certified in August when they were worse. Less than 50% of the ballots are recountable. Now over 72% are. 58% of them are even balanced when it was less than 30% last time. So it's doubled. It's gotten way better because the Secretary of State actually jumped in and did her job, unlike you. But I know it's not going to change your opinion. You talked about not certifying Detroit, even though you acknowledged that Livonia, a city, by the way, I know you know is 95% white, had bigger variances than Detroit, which is 80% black. We understand, and you've now added your name. So I'm not going to try to change your mind. I just want to let you know that the Trump stink, the stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have just covered yourself in is going to follow you throughout history. Your grandchildren are going to think of you like Bull Connor or George Wallace. Monica Palmer and William Hartman will forever be known in southeastern Michigan as two racists who did something so unprecedented that they disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of black voters in the city of Detroit because they were ordered to. Probably, I know, Monica, you think Q told you to do it or some other crazy stuff like that. But just know when you try to sleep tonight, that millions of people around the world now on Twitter know the name Monica Palmer and William Hartman as two people completely racist and without an understanding of what integrity means or a shred of human decency. The law isn't on your side, history won't be on your side, your conscience will not be on your side, and Lord knows, when you go to meet your maker, your soul is going to be very, very warm.
Thank you.
So you look. Hashtag Trump stank. Hashtag your grandchildren are going to be remembered as the progeny of these devils. This dude rolled a reed. That was a reed. That was a reed right there. Holy cow. Now, I think since we just saw one read, it might be time to take a look at a different read. So, Chuck, why don't you tell us about your Gangster of the Week?
Absolutely. And so switching to another read, and we were talking about MSNBC host Joy Reid. Some of you who are watching us tonight may have had an opportunity to see Joy Reid read Jaron Smith, a former Trump official who is of the melanated persuasion. And when she had him on the show the other day, the quote that stuck out to me was, she said, question, how do you reconcile as a black man in this country and a voter the fact that your party, the Republican Party, continually is focusing on and going after and trying to invalidate the votes of black people in Detroit, in Atlanta, in Milwaukee, and doing that in places where black people vote? Reid asked Smith. He had no comeback, no answers. It was brutal. And so with that, my Gangster of the Week nominee is Joy Reid. Tom, I think in the studio earlier, you were telling me that it seemed like the drag that Brother Smith got from Very Smart Brothers was even worse than what happened with Joy, but still, it was rough. And watching her facial expressions, her facial expressions were a read unto themselves. So with that,
let's take a look.
I want to start by asking you a pretty basic sort of bottom line question. Do you accept and believe that Joe Biden is the president-elect of the United States?
Well, I think we should just let the nation kind of run its course on the investigations and lawsuits dealing with the vote. And once that's decided, we can confirm it. You know, I think if the election was leaning in Trump's direction, we would want to run a course and make sure that every vote that was cast was appropriate.
What investigations specifically?
Well, I mean, there's a number of lawsuits that we filed that the Trump
Give me a
administration
specific
filed.
one. Name me one. Name me one
Well, I mean,
that has not already been thrown out.
Well, I'm not going to get specific. I'm just saying very generally
But you're the one who said it. You said, but hold on. You said that you think it should run its course in all the investigations. So you ought to know what investigations you mean and what you are alleging happened.
No, I wasn't being specific. I was meaning generally. There's a number of different lawsuits that the Trump administration's filed. There's a number of
How many of those lawsuits have the Trump administration and the Trump campaign won?
I mean, honestly, I haven't been following it. I think just generally.
But you haven't been following it. But you're saying, but hold on. You're saying you can't accept that Joe Biden is the president-elect. You can't name me an investigation you're talking about specifically. I'll just tell you the answer. They've won 1 out of about 25 or 26. They're losing in case after case after case and state after state. Michigan has gone through Wayne County back down. They've certified that. They are going to finish the recount in Georgia. The Secretary of State there, who's a Republican, has said they found nothing that would overturn a 14,000 vote race. So what specifically is it that you need in order to accept that Joe Biden is, in fact, the president-elect of the United States?
Just let it all run its course. I mean, there's still all of this stuff is not finished.
Let what?
I mean,
are you waiting on Rudy Giuliani's things?
I mean, look, my whole thing is this. You know, I don't work in the Trump administration anymore. I don't work for the campaign. You asked me a general question about how I feel about the outcome of it. I'm just letting it run its course. I know that if they have a recount in Florida for the Al Gore race, they let that run its course. Let it run its course. Let the people, everyone feel confident with the outcome of the election, and we'll move forward. I'm very confident that the country is going to move forward with this, and we're going to deal with the problems of our nation. And I'm very confident that, you know, we're going to get together in a very bipartisan manner and deal with the issues that are plaguing so many Americans.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep...
Okay. I just have to say, if that sister's 37-degree neck tilt didn't communicate the entirety of her disdain for this clown, because she was literally like...
And blinking. That was the face of a woman that has already been through your phone and found the nudes. And now she's waiting on you to catch up to the conversation. That was what that face was.
I am so proud today to not be a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, because you did not represent. And if you are going to sit there, this is one of the foolish arguments that really gets on my nerves, talking about Al Gore. Al Gore, we had to wait on Al Gore because it was the last state and it was 537 votes. That's why.
Right.
We were dealing with one state that was going to determine everything. It wasn't 5 states. It was one. And it was under 1,000 votes. And Al Gore actually won that state. So don't stop talking to me about what we waited on for 37 days and all that other foolishness.
Absolutely.
Stop.
And on top of that, there were actual votes that I keep telling everybody are locked in the archives at the Florida State Archives that were being sifted through.
Right.
Actual physical ballots as opposed to specious allegations of voter and election fraud. And the last part on the Alpha Phi Alpha thing, we got to give them a hard time. Assuming that he pledged, the look that he was giving is one of those that if that's your LB, or underground with him and he's answering like that, you realize that it's about to be a long night.
Yeah.
He right up there with Daniel and the Sigmas. Daniel Cameron and the Sigmas. I think they revoked his membership.
They need to do
Blue Y.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That was joy. Just wait a minute. That's what you said.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
You came on my show.
Right. Joy and Chuck, y'all came hard. Y'all came hard.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my choice for Gangster of the Week. And I'm going to roll with a person that perhaps people might not expect that I would go for, because my Gangster of the Week nominee is not a member of the Democratic Party, as so often is the case. We have a lot of folks who jump on here and who are Democratic strategists or Democratic figures. My Gangster of the Week comes from a different part of the aisle. And so I'm going to roll his footage and let y'all meet my gangster.
Primary. Those 24,000 people did not vote in the fall either. They did not vote absentee because they were told by the president, don't vote absentee, it's not secure. But then they did not come out and vote in person. He would have won by 10,000 votes. He actually suppressed his own voting base.
That is the Secretary of State for the state of Georgia, Brad Raffensperger, who, in addition to telling Trump to his face, if you'd shut your mouth, you would have been able to take the state, but you did it to yourself. I'm going to stab you straight in your grill with facts. I counted it once. I counted it twice. And this afternoon, I signed the paper that says, we're done. And then our governor signed a paper that says he said it's done, so we both done. The electors for Georgia have been handed to Joe Biden, and it's on your ass. And so Raffensperger, who has faced death threats, who's had to protect his family from foolishness, that is my choice of Gangster of the Week because of all of the GOP people. Mitt Romney don't count because everybody knows Mitt Romney's contrary. Susan Collins ain't been making nearly enough noise. And Ben Sass way up in Nebraska. This dude is in the heart of it, in a state that flipped. And when all these other people are running around here talking about Kayleigh McEnany and hundreds of thousands of hoo-ha-ha-ha-ha, this dude said, I'm a Republican. I didn't vote for Biden. I ain't like his ass. But if you would shut your goddamn mouth, you would have had these votes, you ignorant ass. And so that's why my Gangster of the Week is Brad Raffensperger. Be light.
Look. It almost felt like a slow week, but y'all brought the heat. But as we move to some calm, so interesting when we were talking about Biden's appointments. For me, he really ain't made no appointments yet. He ain't bought no smoke yet. And his number one appointment is still Kamala Harris right now. So, for my Gangster Week, what would you say to Americans who are looking for political stability and seeing all the things 45 has done and is still doing. Hang on, Joe Biden on the way. Happy birthday, 46. Today is actually 60 days to the day of the inauguration of the 46th president of the United States of this here America, who I want to stay in the bunker until 60 days from today. And then we can get fierce. And then we can make some challenges. So all the magnificent Gangsters of Weeks that we have going on, I can't wait till the dullness of Joe Biden and the boringness of the Joe Biden and the fierceness of Sister Kamala, because she has decided she's willing to be the black president. Have y'all noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
She has decided, I'm gonna do all the messaging for blackness. I'm gonna tell y'all over and over and over again that I'm a black woman, and I'm gonna do black. And I dare somebody have a problem with it. See, that's gonna change her whole persona. So, Joe Biden, happy birthday, brother.
You know
We're
what?
looking forward to boring America come 2021.
Yeah, not boring in America, boring in America.
Boring in America.
Yeah.
You know what I really want to know, though? I want to know what's going on at Howard University right now, because you know that undergrad chapter, aka, is getting their shit tight. You know,
all the K's getting their shit tight.
Oh yeah, nationwide. Everybody is a Howard, aka this
right
year.
Now,
right?
No,
they all.
You went a little too far. You went a little too far.
No, all the AKAs. Y'all, I know y'all never gonna be, but all the AKAs today are
hats
Howard
off to my
AKAs.
sisters. Hats off.
Now,
Hats
I will
off.
say this on Sharon's point about Biden being the gangster, because that was a backhanded, just general I won gangsterism. But I heard a rumor today which shows just a little bit of gangster thuggery, because the new word on the street is that Biden is contemplating Merrick Garland as the Attorney General. Which would be the most gangsterous move. Now, I don't know if Mitch would approve his ass, but I'll tell you, if he puts Merrick Garland in the AG seat, I would be perfectly happy to let any other of them people who possibly could have been the AG just for Merrick to be shady. I would love that. Now,
all I know is when Clarence Thomas goes home to Georgia during this administration, it better be a black woman to get his seat. That's all I know.
You think he's gonna quit?
Yeah.
No. I said go home.
Go
home.
Oh.
You talking about like go home to glory.
Oh, I mean,
go home. Look, anybody that really know me in 2020 know my karma is hot Atlanta. Okay? So all I'm saying, I'm going to say a little prayer at the home going, and I'm going to say deuces. What sister getting nominated?
Well, I will say this. We were talking about AKAs. Brian Williams this week famously decided that he was going to be on the case of uncovering what Ski Wee was all about.
Oh, wow.
He said that on the news.
I'm going to enjoy this.
So my reply was, they didn't teach you that when you pledged Alpha Chapter? Because
right.
Brian be telling tales, y'all.
Yeah.
And then somebody said that Tupac was his line brother. And I said, no. Biggie was his line brother. Tupac was their dean. So you got to watch out when Brian Williams decides he wants to try to get into some mess, because he will definitely try to put a little extra on it. Yes, Moni J, they doing too much. They are indeed doing too much. So since
she's talking about us.
Well, maybe she was talking about us. Yeah.
She was talking about us, dude.
Okay, maybe Moni, are you an AKA? Is that why? Well, Kim Walker looks like she is.
Me sending Clarence.
That's my cousin.
Deuces. Okay,
send him on to glory.
So I will just say this on a completely different note. This is on the After Dark.
Brian.
Oh, Brian's doing too much. Okay. So on the After Dark part, of Steel, Sharpens Steel, I just want to throw this out to the Sharpies out there. Have y'all seen this new thirst trap Facebook group called Beyond Submissive? Throw in the chat if you have heard about Beyond Submissive, because one of my frat brothers kept posting. He kept talking about this Beyond Submissive, and they doing way too much. And I said, I don't even know what this is. You got to invite me so I can see it. It's 400+ thousand thirsty people putting up their pictures and asking for comments. It's kind of like
it's a pick me patch.
It's a who patch?
It's a pick me patch.
It is a pick me patch. It's you know, Peter Piper picked a peck of pick-me's. And it's messy. People getting on there, 29 y'all, 6 kids, what about it? And then they just get dragged for 1,900 comments. It is called Beyond Submissive. 400-something thousand fools. And it's not just black people, because the occasional color me bad white dude hops up into the mentions as well. Wow. and gets the hey zaddy, all that foolishness.
The occasional John B pops in.
The occasional John B pops in. Little Eminem flavor pops in. You can't even find it, Sharon. Don't squint and look. You got to be invited. Somebody got to invite you. But
so who the hell invited you?
My frat brother, because I told him. I said, I got to see this. Listen, this dude popped on today talking about, I'm 22, married, 0 kids. Why are you in a thirst group then? You shouldn't be married at 22 trying to do your thirst trapping.
Paul Cunningham some questions.
Nobody asked
me for research purposes.
I'm just a lurker. I am a straight up lurker. Now, if y'all want us to start Beyond Sharpened, we can start Beyond Sharpened up in here.
No, we can't.
Joy said, hell to the no.
You know, we got some interesting fans.
We do have some interesting fans. Joy said, I don't need another part. I got one part right now. I don't need to have my wig split into 4 sections.
Right.
Hey, we open up this chat room. This crew up in here.
Okay, Patrice says, I went to school with John B. He been about that chocolate girl life since junior high. I saw about 4 years ago. Since junior high. They had an old school, one of them old school 90s throwback concerts. And John B was one of the billed artists. John B sang 8 songs. Did y'all know John B had 8 songs?
I love John B.
I think John B sings well. I did not need to hear 8 John B's. 2. I got you for 2.
Yeah, I for 2 also.
For absolutely 2. Yeah. And Color Me Bad, since I dropped his name earlier, the lead singer of Color Me Bad must have eaten that one member, because that dude is about 400 pounds right now. It's Color Me Fat up in that piece. Because
what is Tom Cunningham doing?
I'm just telling you, I'm about to eat you up.
I mean, depending on
are we still on the submissive people?
This is an offshoot of submissive. But if if you
want they done revoked your membership.
Oh no, they ain't watching our show. And even if they were, they probably like the publicity because they love the thirst. They thirstier than Chateau de l'Arme Blanche.
I'm so done. I'm so done.
The reason I called it a pick-me patch is because I did look for it. I did hear more about it because nobody invited me because nothing about my demeanor, my personality, my lifestyle, even my hair says submissive.
I don't even know what that name is about because that's not what it is.
It's not what it is. So yeah, what it really is, what it boils down to is it's the ratchetest of the ratchet. Like you just throw out a selfie with bad lighting and bugs in the background and be like, what it do? And then people just go in, and then somebody else will say something like, men all this, women all that. What you think about me? Like it is really like, I can't even describe the kind of low self-esteem that entire group seems to collectively have. It ain't for me.
It's if Moni, who that chick that does all the ratchet love and hip hop shows.
I don't know. I don't watch
it. Mona Me, whatever her real name. If the producer of Love and Hip Hop Ratchet did a dating show that aired on Real Housewives of Atlanta,
Lord Jesus,
it would not be Beyond Submissive, because Beyond Submissive, listen, y'all, one of y'all friends on it, trust, because like I say, they adding 2,000 people a day. So
it's a Tinder meetup kind of thing too, because there's Beyond Submissive like Montgomery, Beyond Submissive Atlanta, Beyond Submissive. Oh yeah, you know, Tallahassee.
Yeah, I know a little bit too much about this group. Tom, I just sent you something. Tom, I just sent you something to our message group.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm just saying, folks, it's Friday night. Georgia has certified. There is no more Trump attempt. It's done. It's a wrap. And so I think what I'd like to, while I'm checking our little messages that Sharon done said.
Sharon just asked us to post a picture. Yes, it's Mona Scott Curtis.
Okay. So
Mona Scott Young. Yes, Patrice. Mona Scott Young.
I am going to play this little video in honor of what Trump should be doing. I'm going to play a video courtesy of George Lopez showing us what really this election should be coming to at any moment.
My fellow Americans, a short time ago, Joe Biden beat me in the election, and not only did he win, he won by a lot, actually. Therefore, it is time for me to step aside, because let's face it, I wasn't probably on my game, and I wasn't doing so well, and, you know, I'm the only president in history to lose the popular vote twice and to get impeached. It's time for a change. Greatest dream in the world is that Joe Biden wins, because the winner of this vote was decided by a fair and open election. Therefore, I humbly concede to Joe Biden. The American people have responded, and they said to me, "You're fired. Bing, get out."
Oh, if only. I cannot wait for the moment. And we know we're never going to hear him concede. He probably will not even show up for the inauguration. I don't think he has to show up. He's not required to. So I think he's probably just going to continue to mope and do whatever. So is there anybody who has anything they want to say before we close? I'll just say, Trump, you're fired. I will say that because it is true. It is unassailably true. There's nothing that you were doing that is going to make any change to that. It has happened. Go ahead, Joy.
I have something serious that I want to talk about really quickly. Because I'm in a few different groups on Facebook that are like, you know, Democratic groups, people to elect Ossoff and Warnock, so on and so forth. And there was one like, you know, around, you know, Georgians for Biden, so on and so forth. And today I saw a post that said, what are you guys looking forward to being able to do now that we've gone back to, you know, a level of normalcy and the robust democracy that we had before? And I had to stop. Like, I'm not going back to nothing, because y'all forget that 73-something million people voted for the nonsense we had now. And my fear is that so many people who showed up and voted during this election are now like, yay, we did it. It's over. We can go back to normal. Now realizing that the normal we had before was always on the precipice of being the crazy that we had for the last 4 years. It has never been safe. Our democracy is not safe. And I want people to remember to get out and vote in Georgia. If you turned 18 after the registration deadline for the general election, but you're 18 now, you can still register to vote until December 5th. Grab your kids, grab your wife, grab your husband too, because everybody need to vote out in here, because this election is still critical. We are still struggling to maintain the health of our democracy. It's not over. And I'm so afraid that so many of our new allies are going to go back home and feel like they did something, and it's not over yet. So please, I encourage everyone with the sound of my voice, share this video, share all the information around Ossoff and Warnock and the runoff race in Georgia. There's people in California and Oklahoma and whatever sending postcards to encourage Georgia people to vote. Help us help everybody else, because it's not over.
Yeah, it's absolutely not over. Chuck, you're nodding, and I know you're probably nodding because you're about to go to sleep. So go on ahead and take it.
Yeah, man, I'm actually doing pretty well this evening.
You sure are. You haven't gone into a coma once. Look at you.
Right, I attribute it once again to the refreshing taste.
Look at Coca-Cola.
Yeah, okay. So, but no, I want to just take a few seconds to thank all of our viewers that have been with us since we started this back in August, and we're heading up into Thanksgiving. This will be a different Thanksgiving for most of us than it has been probably ever. Obviously, the pandemic is still raging. The coronavirus numbers are escalating on a day-to-day basis. And so the CDC and common sense dictates that each of us should take as great strains as we can to make sure that we are protected over the course of the Thanksgiving holiday. So with that, I hope that everyone has a very wonderful Thanksgiving. And again, we thank you for all that you do in regards to watching, sharing, as well as participating in the comment section each Friday night, as well as in all of our individual shows that happen during the course of the week or a given month. So thank you so much. And we look forward to continuing to bring our best each and every week in terms of analysis, as well as wit and excitement. Thank you very much.
All right, Sharon, what do you have to say to our loyal fans who are after darkers all the time with Steel Sharpens Steel?
Well, first, I have to say all four of us, well, maybe three of us, were a little sluggish before in preparation for coming on tonight. And it's something about our community that we have built that just gives us life.
Yeah.
So I even said, there's no way I was going to drink tonight. I'm officially on my second full glass, and we'll continue to drink it after dark. And I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you, how we have so much to be thankful for. This has been a very difficult year. Today, even in our family, we lost an aunt. My husband's mama's sister died last night of COVID. Today was a very challenging day. He's here in our chat group with y'all. Lift up Brother Alvin and his family. They lost another aunt to COVID. So it's real. It's Thanksgiving. For us, it's really challenging because our son's birthday, my baby boy's birthday, is on Thanksgiving Day. So he turned 7 this week. And not only are we mourning, but we're also celebrating. So we're trying to do something unique. We're trying to bring some life into the house. It doesn't take much to please a 7-year-old, but he is our blessing. But his birthday is on Thanksgiving, and we couldn't be more thankful to have him in our life and to have just another day of life. And life is precious. Love on each other, love on your family, plan your family Zooms, and take the virus serious. His aunt sat in the house sick for 2-3 weeks. She didn't want to go to the hospital. She's old school. She was right there in Detroit. She probably went in the hospital no more than 3 days ago and is no longer with us. So take your body seriously. Take people's warnings seriously. Call the ambulance for them. Don't wait for somebody to call them or them to give in. Call the ambulance for them. Those people are trained and they know a situation when they see it. Amen. Get them to the hospital. People should be surviving now. I should not be talking about people dying of COVID right now. Knowing that we also have to do our part. We got to get to the hospital. So as much as our heart hurts, we also have a lot to be thankful that all of us have our breath in our bodies right now. Hug on your loved ones. Let people know how much you love and cherish them every day, because tomorrow is not promised. And I thank our viewers and our supporters for just sticking in here with us. We do this for fun. We enjoy it. We enjoy you all. We enjoy sharing. We didn't ask you all, we didn't reinforce, but if you sip it on something, let us know what you're sipping on. We're going to get more entertaining towards the holiday season, but we want to know what you're drinking. Pour out pour out a sip for Auntie Nisha that we lost. But thank y'all again. And we love y'all, and happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you.
Yeah, and on that note, I would just like to say that in honor of Thanksgiving and Black Friday and people who like to enjoy that time in the aftermath of Thanksgiving, we are going to go on hiatus next week. We may pull together some little clips during the week that you all can re-enjoy. And of course, you are invited to watch any of your favorite episodes, as they are all stored on our Facebook group. Many prayers and thoughts to Alvin and his entire family as they mourn the loss of their loved one. And to echo what Joy has said, it's not only the runoff, but we have to look to 2022, which is our second bite at the apple. And once again, the Republicans are defending more seats than we are. And so there still is an opportunity to make sure that Joe Biden and his administration has an opportunity to make the change that he has been hoping for in the year. And with that, I want to say, on behalf of all of the empty or near empty glasses, thank you for joining Steel Sharpens Steel. We love you. We will be back. And we know that you will be too. Like the page, tell your friends. Somebody posted some Beyond Submissive, because I can't do it because that's scandalous. Here we go. Play us on out.
Yeah, you know what time it is. Crack open that bottle of wine. Grab your favorite glass. Pour a couple of fingers of scotch in it. Get that stick. Light it. And blow.
And blow.
It's time to hang with Steel Sharpens Steel after dark.